The Layla Show. Welcome to another week of The Layla Show, where we build a conscious community one conversation at a time. With your host, me, Layla Ziari, coming at you with weekly episodes every Friday featuring guests from all over the world and so many different industries, sharing their stories, experience, tales, laughing, loving, and just vibing out. The Layla Show. Well, welcome back to another week of The Layla Show, and this week we have Sharon Rolph, and Sharon is teaching you how to find your sparkle after retirement, and yeah, I love that. She's passionate, she loves uniqueness like me, and she has a behavioral science perspective that's going to help you stay young, vibrant, vital, and thriving after your work life. So welcome. And this is so cool because, I'm nowhere near the age that I can retire or maybe ever retire. But I feel like I love the uniqueness, obviously. I feel like we're all unique. And I feel like you and I both promote similar things in retirement and out of retirement. And also, I feel like people need to know that it's never too late to start again. And you can do whatever you want at any age, at any time. So welcome.
Thank you. And I am 76, soon to be 77 in November. So
You're looking great.
Yeah, I especially want boomers to know who they are on the inside, because they often feel lost, irrelevant, bored. Just couch potato. I had heard a rumor at Boeing before I retired that a lot of people put off retiring because they know they'll be dead in 3 years.
I hear that. I hear so many people, everyone's like, oh, when I retire, I'll do this, that, and the third. And then instead they just sit on the couch and watch TV, and then they literally die a week later. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I come home one weekend from being out of town, and I immediately went to water my plants. And as I was going with my water, you got to water them to keep them growing. Oh, yeah. If we're not growing, we're dying.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. And it's so important because I do feel, especially with boomers and stuff, because, I'm a millennial, I live in the age of everything's here and we all are connected to this digital world more so, and really watching people's evolution. We're in this time where evolution and growth is so normalized and so shoved in front of your face. And I've always felt that way within my soul, that I wanted to be that kind of person. And even when I was growing up, it wasn't out there like that. But now you see all these people but I feel like boomers are of the era where it's very stuck in the ways, not knowing themselves, and it's work is your identity. And it's well, then what?
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I wrote a course in May on volunteering, and I had done some podcasting. I quit right about the time the COVID started. So I must have been doing it in 1920 and 21. And one of the guests I had was a guy that had been on the AARP president for Washington State. And he had all kinds of laid out tips of what you gain when you volunteer. And it was so good that when I got through recording the course, it's this will change people's lives, because you do keep growing when you probably getting trained in something new, and you're learning, and you're being social, and you're exploring. Learning is rich stuff, especially good for retirement. But I want to mention, Lila, that the finding your spark could be done for any age. And it sounds like you might have already learned that about yourself.
I surely have. But that's part of my journey to teach people that too, because we have to find our spark, because you can literally feel 80 at any age, you know. I mean, I talk to people my age who are like, I've basically just given up, you know, this is like my life. I don't really see, or I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? So it's like, it is. I think it's an any age thing, and I'm like obsessed with keeping ourselves young in the heart and in the mind. Like, I want to feel like I'm a 5-year-old child for the rest of my life.
Curious. Yeah, curious.
Yeah, the curiosity. I just think that's so important. And, you know, like I said, like I always feel like, you know, people feel like the longer they're in something, they're like, well, I can't leave. That's too late. Like I can't start again. There's like, but it's like you could literally start your life over at 80 if you feel like it. Like there's no rules to this.
Well, the fact that you keep moving around, it shows your love for adventure and growing. And I think when I left Seattle for Tampa, Florida, that was the one thing that I felt my heart kind of expanding. I was brave to go somewhere new. And so many people aren't even open to thinking about that.
That's true. It is. It's so important. And I love that you did that because it is. It's like I feel like we have to, I mean, it's good to know what you like, but I also know what I don't like because I've done so many things, you know, and it's like I just feel like that exploratory like mentality is so important, and it is. It's like I don't even think once you get so stuck in not being adventurous and explore, you don't even know if you like adventuring and exploring anymore because the fact is I feel like everybody does. Like everybody likes that growth. Everybody likes that expansion. But if you're not doing it, you don't even know that you like that, I feel like, you know?
Yeah, I did something last week. I took a cruise. I had been 30 years, 40 years maybe since I did that. And it was an adventure, but so many things were out of my control. And by the time I came home, I was sad. It was really a very unusual feeling for me. But um, the fact that I did it anyway, and I didn't feel like I had failed, the circumstances kind of were against me, maybe. But I learned, I did learn something. I realized maybe I'm not so good at having fun. Maybe I'd rather sit in my cabin and learn, you know.
That's fair though. I mean, I think there's a balance. I feel like I'm right now, I'm not good at having fun. I don't really want to have fun right this second. I'm in my relaxing. I'd rather sit in my apartment and learn or just like be cozy wozy. So I feel like there's phases though, but I think fun is important. I think we have to push ourselves to have fun, even if it's out of our, like you were saying, it's like to push yourself out of our comfort zone is just so important, regardless of if it's like if you come home crying or not, you know?
Well,
Sometimes you come home crying.
and in fact, oh, here, I make these little art blocks, Leah. I love color. I love words of wisdom, and I love to sew. So
I love
transform a failure into a learning experience.
I
And
love
that's what I'm putting one foot in front of the other and going in spite of, well, and the kind of a good story yesterday. My good friend called me. I had actually asked her to go on the cruise with me and be my roommate, and she, I don't want to be on any more ships. But she was like me. She wanted to, she would prefer to learn in her cabin than so that made me feel like, oh, I'm not so weird after all.
I mean, you're not weird. I think we all have different things, you know, but it is like you're still expanding your mind and it is about the expansion of the mind. So it's like, but some people are more adventurous, some people are more introspective. I think that's fine. But I mean, you know, we all are who we are. And I think it's important to talk to people about that. And you do have friends to talk to about that. So I think that's good. You know, I feel like just having a community of anybody who you can talk to and lean on, especially, you know, I feel like it is harder as you get older to establish that community. I mean, shit, I'm 31 and I find it hard to establish any sense of community with human beings. So, um, yeah, but I feel like that's important. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the essence. I want to share my essence with you because
Please do.
it often leaves goosebumps on people's skin. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator. motivator, and learner. I am tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires.
I love that.
I want everybody to know that about themselves. And the best part of that is that it often leads you to a purpose that is just so ideal. It gives you longevity, it gives you fulfillment and meaning that you're giving from your best that you have inside, your invisible assets.
I love that so much, and I do think that's so important. So, like, were you always this person, or is this
Oh no, that's another big story. Well, I'll make it short, but
you
when
can
I
take as
was
much time as you want?
when I was 8, 10, 12 years old, I wanted to be invisible. And there was sexual abuse going on in our home. And in fact, just before I left Seattle, I was in somebody's home. I had never met this lady before, and she was giving everybody kind of a word of wisdom. And I don't know what questions she asked me, but I remember telling her I felt like I had been possibly violated in my crib
Oh my God.
because I had a sense of dad standing near my crib and being um as like a flat board shaking like a leaf, stiff, board stiff, and that he was reaching around the corner of the wall in the bedroom and calling for mom, that I needed help. And this lady affirmed that that did happen. Well, at that time you don't have any memory,
No.
but I said, okay, if I keep my head down, don't rock the boat, get good grades, and be obedient, maybe I'll be safe. And I said hundreds of times, thank heavens he keeps his hands off me. So what I didn't realize, Lila, is that all through my career, I felt invisible.
Mm.
And it's just been since I retired that I started looking at that. In fact, the first weekend of class, I shared a story about a coaching class. Shared a story about I was going to wear a hat to my friend's birthday party that was the next weekend.
I love that hat. I want that.
Yeah, I think they call it a Fantasia or something. And
Fantastic.
I got brave enough to send my friend an email before the party and tell her I was going to probably wear a hat. And her retort was kind of, oh, you'll probably be the only one. Oh, wait a minute, my sister might wear a hat too. And there was actually 3 or 4 of us that wore a hat to her party. And the instructors at coaching class said, well, we invite you to bring the hat in tomorrow.
Okay.
So not only did I bring in that hat, I brought in about 5 hats. And every time we had a break, I would put on a different hat and wear it for 2-3 minutes. And that seemed to be a message that something wanted to come out and be seen.
Yeah.
I still don't fully understand that, but about the same time, I got a profile result in the mail, and it said that I was an influencer. You got the wrong person. That's not me. You made a mistake. But a few months later, I gradually thought, well, what if I took some baby steps and acted as if that might be true?
Right.
And about that time, I got a call from New York saying we think you'd be a good for a podcaster, and we'll set you up with a professional mic and all that. And of course, I had to pay for it and all that. But little by little, I'm becoming more visible, more bold, more courageous. On Instagram, I am Queen of Courage, and the
love
courage to be, do, and have is where I started from. And how often we feel apologetic, maybe because we're weird.
Yes. Yes. And
And
I think
yeah, and one one of the first ways that Courage to Be started, I got somebody finding me, I guess, on LinkedIn and said, well, I help Brazilian people. They seem to be mostly around 40 and 50, but he had a class teaching people how to speak English. And so they needed to listen to English. And he says, you can choose whatever subject you want. So I talked to them about how to be successful in retirement. And then the next recording was on courage. And I started making notes and all that. But courage to be yourself in that authentic, unique, beautiful, precious person that you are. And the cruise that I just took was, I got another lesson about how being vulnerable is so powerful. Actually,
So important.
I've embraced vulnerability because, in fact, oh yeah, here's the block right here. Vulnerability is the willingness to show up and be seen without any guarantee of the outcome. And to me, I always get, wow, amazed at kind of something miraculous happens when I be vulnerable to you and live to tell about it. It invites you to be vulnerable back. In fact, it's also kind of a principle of knowledge management. I'm certified as a knowledge manager. And when you put out what you know and I put out what I know, the possibility of creating new knowledge happens. And that's kind of miraculous. Or I find out something about you that touches my heart and I can so relate to you. So I've always been pretty open to vulnerability. And I'm glad to help other people with understanding the beauty of being open to others.
That's beautiful. I think vulnerability is so important. And it is. Vulnerability takes courage and it takes strength to be vulnerable. And so many of us are afraid to be vulnerable because, that invisibility shield that you had is so prevalent in so many aspects, like be it abuse, whatever. We all have trauma that in some way in our lives, unless you're really lucky, but like so many people, like have that trauma of not feeling good enough, like not somebody like shooting you down, somebody making you feel like it's not safe for you to be yourself. And I feel like that's just a societal theme that's very prevalent. And, so then we do have masks and we do wear a lot of hats actually to like actually different sides of ourselves that come out at different times. But it is hard to be all of yourself all of the time when you're not like comfortable with that and you're not getting met with reciprocity and love and understanding back. But like you said, once you do like find the courage within yourself to be vulnerable, people can meet you with that vulnerability. And then like, because, we're all striving and thriving for connections and deep connections. And it's like, well, you wonder why you're getting service connections, because if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you're not meeting people who can connect with like the innermost of yourself. So like you're not actually attracting those connections. But it's fucking hard work, okay? Being vulnerable is not easy.
Well, and we're taught, from first grade, maybe even kindergarten. I didn't go to kindergarten, but to be like everybody else, to fit in.
Yeah.
It's that whole comparison thing of, how are we different? No, we're supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be the same. And
We're all unique.
Yeah, the uniqueness is well, and I keep hearing I know I was quite sensitive throughout my career about wanting to feel heard, but it's both seen and heard. In fact, one of my college classes, the instructors told me that they wanted to uh, give me a couple free counseling sessions, but I had to tell them why they would do that. I had to say to them, I was worth it.
I love
Oh, that was choked me up. That I was worth it. Yeah. And but to me, comparing ourselves to one another is such a kind of devilish tool.
It really is. It's comparison is the killer. And the only times I'm really unhappy in my life is when I am in a place where I'm kind of not sure with what I'm doing and I start comparing myself to others. And that's the only time in life that I genuinely, at this point in my life, get really down on myself. And it's like, because we are all unique. Nobody's timeline is the same. Nobody's experience is the same. Stop it. Yeah, fucking stop it, people. Cut that shit out. Cut it out. But yeah, no, it's like we are all so unique and it's wild that as a society, because like what I love about people is that they are unique, but it's like as a society, that's the thing we don't like. And I've been a weirdo my whole life, and it took a lot of years to be comfortable in my own skin because of that. And so many people feel that way. They're like, well, I'm not like Susie and Bobby. Like, well, good. I don't want to be like Susie and Bobby.
Yeah, it makes me think of a time, it's been quite a while now, but it was kind of an example of accepting the beauty in people that aren't like us. And it was some kind of show on TV. Well, it was just a performance actually of a lady in a wheelchair, and she had some kind of flowing material, kind of sheer. Yeah, and there was music, and I think there was kind of somebody else that would come in and out of the scene on the stage, and the lighting would change, and it was so beautiful to see somebody that we would call handicapped doing something so beautiful. Finally, we can see the beauty in our differences.
Yes, I feel like our differences should be celebrated. I don't want to meet a million carbon copies of myself. That sounds utterly dull. I mean, they would keep me on my toes. So maybe I take that back. A lot of me wouldn't be a bad thing, but but I also want to meet different people other than myself every day. That's not what we need. Individuality is what makes us all so fun and special. And I wouldn't have a podcast or anything if I didn't have all these unique people to play with. So
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you know about yourself and your spark or essence, Lila?
I know so much about myself. Like,
Come on, come on.
in my essence, I don't know. I'm very creative. I'm a courageous person. I'm very light, bubbly. I don't take things too seriously. I'm very adventurous. I'm very curious. I'm always ready to learn the next thing. Like I'm always willing to just scrap my life and start over. I pretty much live by my heart. Like whatever my heart feels like is right, I'm doing it. I live by like 1% logic and 99% intuition and whatever the fuck I feel like. So that's fun for people around me because they're always like, "Are you well in the head? Like your decisions on paper have never once made any 1% of sense, but like they always work out." So I feel like I'm just a very flowing, free-spirited individual. At this point, I'm kind of a lone wolf, I'm and I march to the beat of my own drum 100%. And I make up my own rules. Like this bubble we live in, I don't care. I will dominate the world with no degrees or no anythings, and I just make it up as I go along. Like I don't have rules. I am ungovernable. Yeah. So I'm just like a very curious, free-spirited, loving human being who wants to grow and learn things.
So, do you help people listen to their heart?
No, I should.
That might be a good thing to, because teaching. Because okay, the thing I do that every day before I get out of bed, among other things, is to ask. The last two things I ask myself is, what do I need to learn today or know today? And God, how you're going to dance with me today. So that invites that intuitive surprise me, God, and yesterday I was on a podcast, and after I think we'd already stop the recording, but I said, hey, by the way, I am looking at being a speaker on a cruise ship. And he says, Toastmasters can help open that door for you.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a surprise. And I actually did, when I was on the cruise last week, I did ask them about being a speaker. And they said I needed to contact the head office. But for somebody, to me, the Toastmaster clue was just a step closer in a sure direction to go in.
I love that. It's like following little breadcrumbs, and that's like really because I never know what I'm doing. Like, let me be honest with you. I never know what I'm doing. I may never know what I'm doing, but I and every time I try to control what I'm doing, it has blown up tremendously in my face. So I really just feel like, you have to be open. Yes, surprise me. I feel like when you go out in the world with that receptivity and not like that attachment to outcome, you get little breadcrumbs and like little inklings, and it's like I'll follow an inkling until like I always like I follow this here, and then like it's usually never what I expect it to be, like in my mind, which is fine, but it's like that leads to this, which leads to that, which leads to, so like this is why I try to live my life by like, yes, like right now I know where I'm moving next, like I know I'm going to Santa Monica, but like other than that I couldn't tell you what I'm going to be doing, and I don't care to know right now. Like, I'm just going to get there and figure it out because that's where I need to be next. And it's like, but I have no idea. I mean, I can have some like ideas and be like, maybe this. No, I'm just so sick of like hypothesizing like the outcomes because that's exhausting. And I've done that most of my life. It's exhausting to play out all the potentials. So I feel like when you just go for whatever it is you're feeling and just like embrace the journey and be open to meet people and be open to just being yourself, you get those. Maybe go speak on a cruise ship. And then, you talk to this person who's like, contact this person, or you go here and you meet this person who connects you with this. And then you never know what your world is going to expand into, you know?
Yeah, I don't know why this came to mind, but I've never married. I never had kids.
You sound
And
like
yet,
me.
and yet I've read for years a magazine that would tell stories of people doing having amazing results out of something that sounded like it was bad. So the one I remember a lot, it was a lady that got stopped by a policeman, and I don't remember what the infraction was, but she wound up marrying this guy.
Oh my God.
So
You
that
never
helps.
know.
You never know. So I kind of had a sense that I would um, meet a fellow on this cruise, and I did, but it was not. It was more of a platonic kind of thing than, and yet um, we sat next to each other 3 or 4 times in the classes we were in, and it's another way of keeping your mind open to possibilities,
Right.
and so a negative circumstance could in fact change your life to be a love romantic relationship. And
That's
I do have a wedding dress. I I I, I read a book called Daily Guide to Miracles, and it said act as if your dream is going to happen. So I said, well, it'll be a miracle if I ever get married. And I think I was 38 or 40 at the time, Lila. And so I had to tell a couple fibs at the beauty shop to get our Macy's or Bon Marché, something like that. And how'd you meet him, and what do you like about him, and all this kind of thing. But I in the meantime, between then and now, I'd gained about 40, 50 pounds, and I think I need to lose another 10 or 20 to get back down into that dress.
You'll get there. You will get there. All right. I love that acting as if though. I mean, I feel like I don't have a wedding dress, but I've totally planned a wedding in my mind before many times. So and I don't even know if I want to be married, I definitely don't want children. I know I don't want children. I would get married though. But act as if. And it would, it's kind of, I mean, love is kind of a miracle in and of itself. Finding a person you can tolerate and love and actually want to be around, is fucking insanely miraculous because I can't. I mean, I imagine it. I believe it's possible. But like what a man that would have to be to be strong enough to like be by my side. Are you serious? Like and like entertain all my whims and my sporadic kind of life and my adventurous spirit and hold me down. Like that's gonna take a hell of a guy, you know? The hello, sir. Like good fucking luck to you.
Well, and yet, how many men have honestly said, I'm a better person because of you? And it's usually the wife that brings out. I often, over the years, Lila, looked at people that are so good at contributing or whatever they do, and then I think, oh yeah, it's the lady behind them that makes
Always the
them.
lady behind
Yeah,
them. You know,
yeah,
we really run the show. So and I
yeah.
know that, but you know, it would, you know, partnership is a nice ideology, and I've always been such a hopeless romantic, and I always spent most of my life like expecting that to happen. Now I'm just like, whatever. If it happens, it happens.
Life goes on. Yeah,
Life
I
goes on. I'm so taking care of me right now that like whatever will be will be. Like if you want to come in and swoop down, like I'm here for it, but you know, I'm not expecting it anymore.
yeah oh, yeah. Zoom. It went in and out of my mind.
It might come back, trigger the
Yeah,
remember.
I'm headed for 100. I've
There
been,
you are.
yeah. So
I mean, you look
I,
at 76 younger than a lot of like 50-year-olds, so hallelujah, by and by.
yeah.
Yeah, how do you keep yourself so youthful other than just your razzmatazz sparkle for life? Are you like active? Do you
Well, I do walk every day. That's easy to do, and that helps keep me regular.
Yeah, I feel like walking every day is very important.
I have the ocean just a mile away from me, and I'm trying to get more regular. I think putting my feet in the sand every day would bring me joy.
Yeah, and it would ground
But
you.
I've been here 11 years, and I've maybe done that 6 times.
You gotta go to the beach and put your feet in the sand.
Yeah. So actually, when I got home from the cruise, I appreciated my little um, quaint little town here. I have ferry traffic that goes right by my house, and it takes people over to the Kitsap County Olympic Mountains.
Okay.
And so I have mountains east and west. I have Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, and all the green you'd ever want, 1,000 shades of green. And the water, I I like where I live. So
Washington's very beautiful. I mean, as I can say that I just went there for the second time in my life, but actually spent some time in the forest and on the river and like saw this lake that was actually turquoise and then the ocean was right there and I was
you
like
did,
like what is this place? I forget what I don't even know what that was called. It was like
heaven on earth.
no, it's so beautiful. And like, I mean, I've lived in like the Bay Area and like I lived really Northern California for a lot of years in my life. So it, and Washington reminded me, I mean, I'm a California girl through and through. Like, I will die by my sword and die in that earthquake if I have to. Like, I will never live anywhere else. I don't think, like, for a lot, you know, I leave a little bit, I leave and then I come back. But when I was in Washington, just like that similar energy of like just the grandeur of nature that I feel in California was just so vibey in Washington. I love it. I love it. But it's a different entity. It's like its own climate. It's its own. But I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was so beautiful up there.
Well, I spent a week in Mount Baker, and the very next day I come back, I had some kind of eye exam. And what I mentioned to the receptionist that I had been in the forest, Mount Baker Forest, and she said the Japanese actually have a term for forest time. It's like a prescription that
Really?
that the doctors or at least maybe CEOs, who knows who is recommended for, but yeah, there's a vibe among the trees that feeds our spirit.
I
And
agree.
yeah,
I agree. I feel like we need that, and I feel like we should all be prescribed trees. Because like I'm a huge ocean girly. I grew up on an island. pretty much. So like, and I've always lived by the water. Rhode Island. It's not technically, but it is. It's a fucking island. I lived on Aquidneck Island. So yes, yes, I did. There's only bridges to get out. But like, so I've always been such a beach, like, I can't live far from the ocean. This is why I fucking hate you, upstate New York. You're not even giving me anything. Like, fuck your trees, fuck your mountains. I'm sorry, Adirondack. But without the beach, I don't love it. But there's just such a difference between, like, okay, the ocean is one vibe, very cleansing, but there is nothing like being in, like, a forest. Like, I'm sorry, East Coast, your forests don't give. The West Coast forests, just like there's something out there in those woods that makes you feel like, oh, it's the best feeling.
Well, I'll never forget. Pastor one Sunday was telling a story about, and I think it was something that just had come out in who knows, media, but they say that trees under the ground, all the roots, they share water and nutrients with each other in the ground, and how like they take care of each other. And I think I've heard a similar story with animals or something else that was not trees. The whole well, in fact, elephants, I think, are very good at that, and we're just starting to learn how much of they actually know things. Like what was the book I read? A guy that worked with elephants out in the wild in Africa. He's just fairly recently passed away, but the elephants would know before he left town, a day or two before left town, because they would come and say sort of goodbye to him because they know he would be. How can they know that,
I don't know how, like, I wish, like, if I had one magical power, it would be able to like read the minds of all beings, like animals, like how do they think? Nature. How does that communicate? Like, I would love, because I just think it's fascinating. Like, where does this inherent wisdom come from? How do you have so much wisdom? How are you so in tune with all of it? It's crazy.
Well, and the stories are coming out of whales that have gotten tangled in the nets or plastic. And I even saw it, I think, with a deer, where they come to a human to help them. And when they get free, they make a point to come back and be grateful. And they might come back every year, in fact, to say thank you.
I think that's so sweet. Those are my favorite videos on the internet. They're like, I saved this shark even. And it's like, this is my buddy now. And it's like, you know what? I really want a pet raven, but like that doesn't live inside with me. But like, I want to befriend a raven so bad. Like, just leave it little treasures. And,
Yeah.
I want my own raven. This is a goal of mine in life. Like, I will have a raven and I want it to be my best friend.
Well, when I go on my walks, I always take with me 4 doggy biscuits. So that I tell people that's where I get my kisses. And I whistle at the birds, and they're mostly crows.
Yeah.
And I had a friend at Boeing that he put out breadcrumbs on the top of a fence every day. And the birds came at 10 o'clock every day waiting for their crumbs.
I love that. And I heard, okay, so if you leave like crows and ravens food like enough, that I heard that they'll find shiny things and bring you the shiny things. So the better the food is, the better the shiny things they bring you. I think it's the best thing on the entire planet. I'm obsessed with birds, like, which, I really like cats and I really like birds. I like all animals. So those, cat eats birds, so I don't really know how that works. Like, I feel like I'm a cat bird. I don't know, but I think all animals, I love creatures.
Well, and it's an example of love in the earth.
Yeah, and it's like such an unconditional love. Like humans and their love is so conditional because we're all so broken inside, But animals don't have that. Their love is like, like you respect me, I respect you, you fuck with me, I fuck with you. It's like it's just like this mutual appreciation. There's no drama. There's no trauma. There's no karma there. It's just like it's just genuine, and I just love animals.
Cool, cool, cool. So
I just
what's
we got on a
next?
tangent. So
Yeah.
now that we're done with the crows, you lost me there. I have no idea where we were before the crows. I got so sidetracked. So yep, keep going.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody helped me write this statement here recently, and it seems to be getting a lot of people understand it. I am Sharon Rolph, a retirement coach, a Spark coach, and a behavioral scientist, and I specialize in helping people learn, discover, let's say, find or discover their purpose so that it resonates with their soul and life feels like heaven, a little bit like heaven on earth.
I love that. I feel like we all deserve to be living our heaven on earth.
So how do you help people live heaven on earth, Lila?
I don't know.
Maybe I need to train you.
By existing in my own self. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely helped a lot of people in many ways, but I feel like it's evolving right now. So I don't really know what the next phase of that is. Like before, I used to kind of just be everybody's therapist. I was always the person you called when like a catastrophic life event was happening and you were in the midst of like a huge transition. Like I would meet people like a couple weeks or a couple months and become really good friends with them before like a huge divorce or a huge job switch. And that's kind of always been where I come into people's lives. It's not intentional, it just happens. So I'm like, I've always just managed to meet everyone I meet when someone is going through a massive like upheaval and like teaching and like being there for them. And I guess, what do I really do? I'm just like, hi, I'm Layla. I start again all the time all by myself and it always works out, Like, I feel like just by being myself and living as I am, that helps people. But, I actually started a life coaching program last year with this other girl. And then she bailed out and then I just never did anything with it again.
So I think how you teach people heaven on earth is your joy.
Yes.
That's a big key.
There you go.
I'm still working at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think it is. Yeah, it's definitely joy. It's definitely my like lighthearted whatever, but I'm also like very brutally honest. Like,
Okay.
and I feel like when I'm working with people or my friends, I'm very easily like I can be there for you emotionally, but like I feel like I just pluck the situation and I'm like, here are the higher aspects of this component and why this is happening, and here's the grand scheme of things. So your feelings, which are all valid, let's just remove those. And this is why this is happening. Let's just break this down real quick. And this is what you need to do. Like, so we got that. And then, yeah, joy, my free spirit. And definitely my mom always tells me I'm like the bravest person she's ever met. Like, I was having an existential crisis not too long ago. And I was like, I'm just failure. I haven't done anything. And like, she's a high school teacher and I was all in my feelings because she's so proud of some of her students. And I was like, you will never be that proud of me because I feel like I've accomplished nothing. And she's like, you are the most courageous person I have ever met. So like, there you go. That's you. She's like, I've never met anyone who's just like, scrap my life. I mean, I moved to France last year for like on a whim, like I just do shit like that, so yeah, that's my thing.
And we get courageous watching you be courageous.
Yeah. I guess that's my trip, But, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the next phase of life and what's happening next and what I'm doing. So, joy.
Yeah, I brought out the both the reciprocity and how people watching us get strengthened and courageous, because if Leela can do it, then I can try it.
Yeah, and
You know,
if you can be sparkly and look this good at 76, then everyone else can, you weren't afraid. Yeah, I feel like the courage is so important. But I feel like we're here to lead by example. I always, I never know I don't know how to actually teach you anything, I'm just doing me because I'm still figuring it out every day. And there is no recipe in my life. I am just throwing shit at the wall sometimes. Like, trust me, sometimes I know what I'm doing and it's a little calculated, but like, most of the time I'm chucking shit at a wall and figuring it out as I go along. So it's like, am I teaching or am I just living? And you can follow along the journey,
it sounds brave to me. Yeah, brave.
Yeah. But I
Because
mean,
then
yeah.
intuition is your guiding light.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I don't know why I've chosen any of the places I've chosen to go other than like a feeling in my, and I will, like, before I moved to France, I was like, I was getting my real estate license and I was literally ready to move to Southern California from the Bay Area. And then one day I'm just like, no, you guys, I'm moving to the south of France. It has to happen. Like, this is what I need to do. Like, right now, and it's like, but I'm open to that derailment, like, because whatever, and some things circle back like years later. I find that all the time. Like things that I wanted or intended to do will circle back when it's time. But it's like, if you have a plan, but you get some great download and intuition that you need to scrap that plan and go somewhere else, even if it makes no sense, do it. Just do it. Like follow that call because you'll always wonder what will happen if you didn't. And you should always trust that call. If you are feeling that strongly about anything, go follow it. Like whatever it brings. Just don't care. Don't ask questions. Don't ask how it's gonna work, because it's gonna work.
So maybe there's a way that you could ask people questions such as, have they listened to their heart? How do they listen to their intuition? Get them hungry to know. Um, because often out there in the woods, well, in fact, a Hallmark movie said, there was a phrase, when you go home from vacation, you often go home with fresh courage.
Hmm.
And I had learned that while I was still working, that I was more courageous and brave. Some things needed to be fixed and nobody was fixing them. And I finally said, let's get this fixed, after vacation.
Gotta get it done.
So, so making people curious about who, where, when is something talking to you. Because when they gave that line in the movie, in fact, I called my book Fresh Courage.
Oh, love
I
it. Courage and
I've yeah, I've used that phrase a lot. And um that, when you're sitting looking at on a cliff looking out over the ocean, you might get a still small voice talking to you. And so often yeah, that sounds like a dream, but I can't do that.
right. There's so much talking ourselves out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Or you're sitting looking at a campfire that's burning, in the evening, and a phrase or idea comes to you, and yes, it may shock you, but if you say, well, what if that could be possible? Listening and responding to those still small voices are huge change for your life for the good.
Yeah, and and also knowing that anything is possible because those voices are there for a reason. You're not just like going cuckoo. You're not just like schizophrenic time. You like these are happening because you're supposed to listen. Like,
Yeah.
we can all choose a basic, easy, boring ass life, or we can live our lives, like actually live them and follow that. And I think it's so important to follow that because there's something beautiful within every adventure. And it's like, who cares if it doesn't work out? Who cares if all you do is learn a lesson? Like, it's not over. It's never over. You can like start over so many times, you know?
I think a lot of people, they have to control things.
You are not in control. But there is. It's like where we want to be in control of everything, and surrender is very hard for everyone. They're like, I want to know the outcome. I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know that this will work out. I want to make sure. And it's like, you can't.
What is it in that Frozen movie? Let it go, let it go.
Yeah, let it go. Yes. Let it go.
Try it. You might like it.
It might
Yeah.
be the best thing that ever happened to you. And even the worst things that have ever happened to me and like the worst decisions were the best decisions. Like I wouldn't take them back in a million years. Was moving to France the most reckless thing I've ever done in my life? No, on paper, but yes, in my mind of what happened. But it's like, and it was catastrophic, but I wouldn't not do that again. Like, I mean, I wouldn't actually do it again, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. Yeah. You embrace the journey. Yeah.
It had to happen. Like, I had to clear up some shit. And if I didn't go do that, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I would still be suffering in the past karma and trauma, whatever the fuck I needed to go there to get rid of in my life, you know? So it's like, fine. I'll take it, you know? You know, you fall down, but you don't fall down. It's not like you get back up when you fall.
Yeah.
And like
Resilience.
sometimes it's just so miraculous. Like sometimes I mean, everything always works out, but sometimes like, you know, I have literally shown up to places with not a dollar to my name, nowhere to live, a broke down car, and in a week, like, was in a situation that was ideal. Because why would anyone else actually be crazy enough to be like, this is where I'm going? I was like, this is where I have to be. So I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm just going to put my faith in this. And then you know what? It works out because you never are going to let yourself be down and out. That's the thing about us humans. We're going to find a way. And it's like, so you have to give yourself some space and grace to be able to find the way, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, it has been marvelous.
It has been marvelous chatting with you. Do you have any parting wisdom for our audience?
Well, I like to leave. Well, let me say, my course on volunteering is on the Great Discovery platform, and soon, like any day now, will be my course on Discover Your Spark, Rekindle Your Joy on the Great Discovery platform. I wanted it to be finished by the middle of September, and between some illness and some sad days my cruise, but I like to leave the let me at SharonRolph.com, ROLPH. I like to leave podcasts with this Thomas Wolfe quote: if one has a talent and fails to use it, one has failed. If one has a talent and partially uses it, one has partially failed. If one has a talent and finds somehow to use the whole of it, they have gloriously succeeded and won a satisfaction few people ever know.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know that we believe in ourselves enough,
We don't.
or love ourselves enough. So let's give ourselves a hug. Yeah, cool.
Give yourselves a hug. Well, thank you so much. And I will share all the links to all your stuff on this episode. And to my audience, thank you for listening to another week of the Layla Show. Make sure you subscribe and like this and follow it. And if you want to be a guest, DM me or email me. Thank you, Bisou Ciao. The Layla Show.